A Wall Street Journal reporter waits on a busy street in Karachi, Pakistan. It's January 2002, just a few months after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. He thinks he might be onto a big story. He's heard that an attempt to bomb a flight from London to Paris might be connected to Al-Qaeda. Daniel Pearl's done his homework. But the situation is dangerous, especially for him. After all, he's Jewish, he's American, and he's chasing terrorists in Pakistan. But this kind of news story is his bread and butter. He's built relationships with contacts on the ground, and he's getting close, really close, to landing an interview with a radical Islamic cleric named Sheikh Jilani. Jilani is a Sayyid, someone who claims to be a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. He started madrasas in Pakistan, which are religious schools and Islamic universities in the US. Pearl hopes this cleric will reveal links between a British terrorist, the shoe bomber, and Al-Qaeda. Remember the shoe bomber? You know how sometimes you have to take your shoes off at international airport security? Well, you can thank Richard Reed for that. Reed was caught trying to bomb a transatlantic flight from Paris to Miami just 3 months after 9/11. He hid explosives in the soles of his black sneakers, thus the name Shoe Bomber. Pearl has heard that the shoe bomber might have links to groups here in Pakistan, which has brought him to this busy street waiting for his contact, an intermediary, to arrive. The problem is, he's not at all sure this intermediary will show up. He's been given the runaround on this story already. For 2 weeks, Pearl's been using a man named Bashir to lock in an interview with Jilani. They'd schedule a time, and at the last minute, he'd be told Jilani couldn't make it. They'd schedule a new meeting at a new place, and it'd fall through again. 6 or 7 times, Jilani's yanked Pearl around like this. But today's the day. Pearl's waiting outside the Village restaurant, an upscale place in Karachi. He's meeting Jilani here for the interview. Safety-wise, it's a good location. He's checked it with American security officials. Meeting in public like this should be fine. But before the interview, Pearl gets a phone call. It's from one of his contacts to Jilani. Jilani is no longer available. If he wants the interview, he'll have to go to a madrasa. Pearl knew this might happen. The American official has explicitly told Pearl not to meet Jilani in any madrasas. The risk is too high. There'd be no way to get him out if things go badly. Pearl understands this, and he has a reputation for caution. But he's been chasing this interview for weeks, and he's almost got it. Bashir has offered to get him picked up and driven to a second location to meet Jilani. When a car arrives, Pearl gets in it. The next time the world sees Daniel Pearl is 4 days later, when terrorists release photos of him to the media. He's on his knees, a gun to his head, hands bound, looking down. That day's newspaper in frame. The images shock the world. Hello, my friend. I'm Aslan Pahari, and this is Assassins, the show where we tell the stories of the world's most shocking assassinations. And today, a story about chasing a story, and how, even when you're steeped in the dangers of the most extreme ideologies, you can still make the wrong bet. Daniel Pearl, a star reporter at the Wall Street Journal, was killed by terrorists while investigating a terrorist plot. Pearl's childhood and early life followed a typically upper-middle-class trajectory. His parents were from Israel and Iraq and found success as professionals in the United States. He spent his formative years in Los Angeles before venturing into journalism. A year before 9/11, he moved to Mumbai to become the paper's South Asia bureau chief. It's during his tenure there that he becomes convinced he can find links to the shoe bomber in Pakistan. And that's where it all went wrong. Instead of him finding Al-Qaeda, they found him. As Daniel Pearl hops into a cab outside Karachi's Metropole Hotel in October 2002, it's the last step in a carefully arranged plan. Pearl had connected with Bashir through two of his contacts, both Pakistani journalists. Bashir said he could line up an interview with Sheikh Jilani, and over the course of a few months, Daniel and Bashir exchanged several phone calls and emails. The only problem was, it was all an elaborate lie. There was no Sheikh Jilani. I mean, there was. He did exist. It just had nothing to do with this. Bashir had faked the whole thing. Even his name, Bashir, was fake. His real name? Sheikh Omar. Like the shoe bomber, Sheikh Omar was a British Islamist. He'd attended private school in London and dropped out of the London School of Economics. But he was also deeply connected to a network of jihadi groups like Pakistan's Jaish-e-Mohammed and Al-Qaeda. And Bashir, aka Sheikh Omar, was an expert at luring Westerners into jihadi traps. He'd done it before to Western tourists in India. Back then, he'd adopted a fake Hindu name and told a group of tourists that his uncle had died and had left him a village in a remote area as his inheritance. He told them they must come and visit. But instead of going to see a quaint Indian village, the 3 Brits and 1 American were held hostage, chained to the walls of a dark room in some dank apartment north of the capital. They were told they'd only be released if the Indian government agreed to free imprisoned Kashmiri militants. Sheikh Omar was eventually caught and sent to jail in India. But he didn't stay there very long, thanks to another hostage situation in 1999. A few years into his jail sentence, his terrorist associates hijack an Indian Airlines plane and they demand his release along with 2 others, in exchange for the safe return of around 200 passengers. The government gives in and releases its prisoners. Sheikh Omar is freed, and then Sheikh Omar levels up. He kidnaps a prominent journalist in broad daylight from outside a well-known hotel in Karachi. It's January 27, 2002. The US consulate in Karachi, as well as American and Pakistani news outlets, receive emails from a Hotmail account called Kidnapper Guy. Yes, that's the real email address these guys used. The email includes 4 photos of Pearl along with a list of demands. The photos are forwarded to many people, including Daniel Pearl's wife, Marianne. Hiding away in a safe house in Karachi, trying desperately to find her husband, Marianne Pearl looks at the photos, and she notices small details that give her hope. In one image, even though his head is down, she can make out that he's smiling. And when she looks at his bound hands, she sees that he has 2 fingers up in a V. He looks like he's giving his captors a subtle middle finger, still defiant. She smiles at the thought. The other journalists in the room focus on the demands. The kidnappers want all Muslim prisoners of Guantanamo Bay released, as well as all Pakistanis in US jails. They also want every American journalist to leave Pakistan. As for why they specifically chose to kidnap Daniel Pearl, the email accuses him of being an American spy. A few days later, more emails come through. Now they're saying Daniel Pearl is a Mossad agent for Israel, not an American spy. It warns he'll be killed in 24 hours if their demands aren't met. The United States doesn't engage. It has a long-standing policy of not negotiating with terrorists. A few more anxious weeks go by. It's February 21st, 2002. A tape from the kidnappers arrives at the US consulate in Karachi, a 3.5-minute video. It's a low-quality production. Footage of Pearl speaking is edited with images of war and destruction in the Middle East. There are several jarring cuts, the editing style intended to shock. But Pearl speaks calmly, clearly, and dispassionately. Here's some of what he's made to say. My family follows Judaism. We as Americans cannot continue to bear the consequences of our government's actions. such as the unconditional support of the State of Israel. His last sentence on camera is, "My father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish, I am Jewish." Then, his captors slit his throat and cut off his head. Only Daniel Pearl and the killer's arm are visible on screen. The US government asks media outlets to not show the video to the public, but they do, snippets at least, against the wishes of Pearl's family. The terrorists release the video online and it spreads around the world. The title leaves no doubt as to their motive, quote, "The slaughter of the spy journalist, the Jew Daniel Pearl." It was the first of many beheading videos that went global during the US's war on terror. 3 months later, Daniel Pearl's body is found in a shallow, unmarked grave 30 kilometers from Karachi. All efforts now turn to getting justice for Pearl. Who is to be held responsible for this? Well, for starters, Sheikh Omar, the man who pretended to be Bashir and lured Daniel Pearl to his death. He's arrested in Lahore on February 12th, before the beheading video is even released. It comes out that Sheikh Omar has been a member of jihadi outfits since the 90s. So when he's in court for Daniel Pearl's abduction, it doesn't go too well for him. The United States wants him extradited so he can face justice in Daniel Pearl's home country. But Pakistan refuses to hand him over to the Americans. They do sentence him to death though, and he remains on death row until 2020. But the case is not as straightforward as it might seem. Others claim responsibility for the killing of Daniel Pearl. In 2007, the infamous global terrorist Khalid Sheikh Mohammed makes a confession from Guantanamo Bay, where he's being held for allegedly planning the 9/11 attacks. He'd been waterboarded, sleep-deprived, and more. And under those conditions, he unexpectedly admits to personally killing Pearl. Sheikh Omar's lawyers jump at this news. They file an appeal. If Khalid Sheikh Mohammed did it, then Sheikh Omar couldn't have. In April 2020, Sheikh Omar's murder conviction is overturned, and his 7-year sentence for kidnapping is considered time served. He's ordered to be freed and sent to a government safe house. A judge even orders that this be a comfortable residential accommodation, like a rest house where he can live a normal life and have visitation from his family. The US is outraged and feels it's an insult to victims of terrorism everywhere. To this day, Sheikh Omar is not free, as the lengthy appeals process works itself out. Daniel Pearl's family is furious. And as for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, he's still in Guantanamo Bay awaiting trial for the 9/11 attacks. But the charge of murdering Daniel Pearl has quietly been dropped. The prosecution decided that the additional charge might risk the much bigger 9/11 case, which means that to date, no one's been held officially accountable for Daniel Pearl's beheading. Who do you think should be held responsible for Daniel Pearl's death? Let us know in the comments.